in college, I took an international trip to Zambia. There was kind of a horror story that started that. I was in a class in college called Social Problems, and my roommate and I were taking it, and we had watched the documentary that had been put out by Invisible Children. And so she was pre-med and I was sociology. And so we just decided, let's do that next summer. Let's go to Africa next summer.
Wow.
And so we planned everything. We were ready to go. The spring break before we left, she was tragically killed in a car wreck.
Oh my God.
And I had to kind of gather myself and decide what I was going to do. But, staying in the apartment, in the town, in sort of the college environment,
Wow.
I was kind of at my wit's end with that, because I was barely surviving from, spring break to the end of the semester. So I decided to go, and I went with an organization. It was a faith-based organization. It was a missional organization. And when I was there, I was slapped in the face with my privilege and my white savior complex, and all of the ways in which faith played out in different parts of the world, especially those that had been proselytized to experiences. I was sitting in theology classes with the people that had written the book, like the books that all seminary folks study on things like New Testament. And they were totally blowing my mind over things that I had just been taught by like small town uneducated pastors, to be honest, and had just taken that to a mission field and had assumed that that was the truth that needed to be spread. And I was kind of I was hearing from those professors what's actually going on in those texts, the like historical data that we have, the ways in which this doesn't quite fit, or actually this is a really bad translation of the Greek or the Hebrew. And so I was kind of wide-eyed and sitting in classes going, oh my God, I've been lied to. I have been totally lied to. Essentially, I had followed all of the rules of my religion, including things like purity and chastity and accountability. And I was a faithful woman that really did everything that I could to support a husband. And when that was falling apart, I had a bit of a crisis of like, I can follow all of the rules and that doesn't save me from suffering. So why am I walking through this world in such a rigid, unforgiving way as far as like how to do things, when in the end, it's not actually protecting me? I thought that following the rules was going to protect me from something, from suffering. And in fact, it doesn't. I have no qualms with anyone's belief systems. I really don't. I just don't want people to be hurt. And if I'm pointing out that someone's hurt and your immediate response is not like, my God, thanks for letting me know. Church, we got to fix this. Like, what are we going to do? What's the first step? If your response is that doesn't happen, you're crazy, you have some like evil spiritual influence going on. If those are your responses, then you are not hearing what's happening in these environments. And that's why it's not changing. I want to take a holistic approach. I want to point out the traumas that happen in these spaces. I want to point out how leadership in these churches, religions, cult groups totally blow it so much of the time. I want to point out how they're missing it, right? When they have opportunities to change something, and what I think they could do, right? That might be healthier or move us in the right direction. I also want to talk a little bit about, the personal experiences that I've had growing up and the ways in which, you go to this really fundamental Christian church camp for your entire life. And, there was some weird things that happened, but you don't have language for that. And you think overall, I learned how to like hike and rock climb and do some really cool things. And then now that camp is, under investigation from the government because of the rampant sexual abuse that goes on. So like, I have a personal connection to that camp. I should probably be talking about that because religious trauma survivors are from there.